Welcome to the first ever Sibling Rivalry MMA podcast brought to you by Third String Sports. I'm Nick here with my brother Brennan, and we'll be discussing UFC 239, this past week's ESPN card, and the future of the heavyweight and flyweight divisions. Alright, so for our first podcast, we're actually really lucky. In a couple days, the biggest card of the entire year is going to be happening. UFC 239, headlined by probably the greatest of all time, Jon Jones, taking on Thiago Santos. The greatest women's fighter of all time, Amanda Nunes, taking on Holly Holm, and then a card stacked with a ton of other great fights. Looking at this card, and from what I've seen, it seems like most people are most interested in Ben Askren versus Jorge Masvidal, actually. How do you think that fight's going to
go? That's actually a pretty good fight. Obviously, I'm going to go with Askren because we're wrestlers, and he's undefeated, and I love Ben Askren. Obviously, Jorge Masvidal is coming off a big win against Darren Till. It was a good fight up until, he ended up finishing him there. But that is also his first win out of his last 3 fights.
Yeah, I think Masvidal's a little bit overrated, too. I think this fight will be similar to the Damian Maia fight. For the most part, Maia just hit single legs on him and took him down and was on top of him. And Maia's wrestling's not nearly as good as Askren's. It's a lot different. And Maia's probably better on top once he gets there, but I don't really see Masvidal getting away from Askren once Askren gets him down. I think he'll be able to control the fight. I'm sure there will probably be a few scary moments where Masvidal tags him and beats him up on the feet just because Askren just walks straight forward with his chin up. But overall, I think it's mostly going to be Askren taking him down, laying on top of him. Probably is actually going to be a pretty boring fight, but I'm going to take Askren there.
I don't think it'll be a boring fight. I mean, obviously Masvidal's better on the feet, and I think that'll be the fun part, and just watching to see how long it takes Askren to get him down and beat him up. But yeah, I think at the end of the day, Askren's gonna take him down, beat him up, probably end up winning by decision.
Yeah, I mean that's what I think too. I don't really see him finishing him. If Damian Maia couldn't submit him on top, I don't see any way Ben Askren does.
Yeah.
Other fight below that, Jon Blachowicz taking on Luke Rockhold in his light heavyweight debut in the UFC. I, for one, have never thought Blachowicz was that good. I've watched him get beat up by a lot of guys worse than Luke Rockhold, but he is ranked pretty high. Rockhold, I think, not cutting the weight's going to help him. It seems like it's been helping most people in the UFC lately, especially in that division. Thiago Santos was a decent middleweight. Anthony Smith was a decent middleweight. And Luke Rockhold was the best one there was at that time. And now he's moving up, and I think he's going to do a lot better. I think he's going to look better. The only issue with him is his chin. He does keep his chin up a lot. That was exposed in the Bisping and Romero fights. And Blachowicz definitely hits harder than Bisping, probably hits as hard as Romero. So I think that is a closer fight than people think. I'd like to see the odds on that one, but I'm going to take Rockhold in that one, probably by submission.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see how people do when they move up in weight. Rockhold's a pretty big dude, pretty strong guy. And like you said, you were talking about his chin. I mean, I've got to imagine that he's worked on keeping his hands up and his chin down, and I think he'll come in prepared for this fight. Like you said, not having to worry about the weight cut, having more time to work on everything else.
Yeah, I mean, you would think, but there's just some habits that people can't get over. He's been fighting for so long. If he hasn't fixed that by now, I mean, you wonder if he ever will. Like, after the Bisping fight, you would have thought that's the first thing he would fix, but he got tagged by David Branch. He got knocked out by Romero, which, I mean, there's no shame in that, but he definitely wasn't keeping that hand up, and his chin was still wide open. I'm sure that's something Blachowicz is going to look to expose, but I do think Rockhold's probably going to try to take it to the ground. His grappling's very underrated. Once he gets on top of people, he usually mauls them. I know he submitted Michael Bisping, he submitted Lyoto Machida, David Branch, he dominated. Yeah, I think he's going to try to take it to the ground and dominate Blachowicz there.
So what do you think if Rockhold wins this fight? Where do you think that puts him? Because people are already talking about him fighting Jon Jones.
I mean, unfortunately, I think that's probably where they will put him. I don't think that's where they should put him.
I don't either.
I know I'm biased because I know Corey Anderson, but I think Corey Anderson should be ahead of him. He already dominated Blachowicz and a lot of guys in the top 10. And I think guys that are already fighting at light heavyweight should get that chance before him. Honestly, I think if Rockhold wins this, he should fight Anthony Smith. They have beef, and Anthony Smith has a huge win over Alexander Gustafsson. I think beating Blachowicz should not get you a title shot at all, but his name is big, so it could get him that. But I think Rockhold needs another big win after this to get that title shot.
Yeah, him and Smith, I could see that being a good matchup.
Yeah, I mean, Smith was somebody I didn't think was that good until I watched him fight Gustafson. I was really impressed. You know,
Yeah.
he beat a couple over-the-hill guys, and actually Gustafson is one of those guys. Gustafson is over the hill, and I wasn't impressed with him, but you can't really take much away from him there.
Yeah.
Going down, another interesting fight that if I really looked at it, I wouldn't think it is, but when I break it down, this is a tougher fight than most people realize. Diego Sanchez and Michael Chiesa. I know you were having a tough time deciding on this, so I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I don't know why I want to pick Diego so bad. Probably because I love him, and he looked good in his last fight. But I don't know. I mean, realistically, should probably go with Chiesa. But I mean, the way Diego looked in his last fight, and I mean, Chiesa definitely has his holes, and Diego's just been going nuts. So I don't know. Chiesa will probably win, and I try not to pick emotionally, but why not? Screw it, go with Diego.
So I think it's a tough fight because Chiesa's really good on the ground. His stand-up's okay, and I don't really think he's that tough, honestly. I think Diego's going to push the pace.
That's where Diego can get him.
I think Diego will push the pace. I do think Chiesa's going to win. I think he's going to take him down and go for a lot of submission attempts. I think it's going to be a really fun fight. I think Diego's going to just be a psycho and push forward and yell and swing, but overall I don't think he's going to land very many good shots. I think Chiesa on the feet will keep his distance. He's a lot bigger than Diego. But mostly it'll be on the ground. Chiesa being in dominant positions, probably win by decision. I don't really see him submitting him.
I don't know. How do you see it going if it goes into, well, it's only a 3-round fight, obviously, but if it gets to where you need the gas tank at the end?
I mean, I could definitely see Diego winning the third round, pushing the pace and clipping him and maybe even taking him down.
Takes the first 2 rounds?
Yeah, I mean, I could see Chiesa taking all 3 rounds, but I think it'll be tough. I don't think Diego's going to give it to him, and Chiesa doesn't have knockout power, which if anybody has knockout power and is that high caliber of a fighter like Chiesa, I think they would knock Diego out. I would never take Diego, but...
Either way, I think it's going to be a fun fight to watch.
Yeah, no, so do I. And then going up to the co-main event, we got Amanda Nunes, probably the greatest women's fighter of all time, coming off of a victory over Cyborg against Holly Holm, who is still one of the greatest women fighters of all time. She's kind of been on a roller coaster lately, winning fights and losing fights. But I think this fight is a great matchup for Holly. Style-wise, I think it's going to be a much tougher fight than Cyborg. Cyborg came out reckless, swinging crazy. Holly's not going to do that. Holly probably has the best kickboxing in that entire division. I think this is going to go all 5 rounds, and I think it's going to be a crazy fight.
Yeah, obviously the win over Cyborg for Nunes was huge, and, you know, you got to give her all the credit, but it was kind of a weird situation where they both just went nuts, and just whoever was going to land that big shot was going to win it. Nunes obviously just been destroying everybody, and then Holly Holm, like you said, has been having some ups and downs. So it is, I mean, it's hard to pick against Nunes after, you know, she's just been tearing through everybody, but it is an interesting fight. Obviously, Holly Holm is great on her feet, and so is Nunes. So it'll be another really good fight, but I'm still going to go with Nunes because, I mean, there's no way you can pick against her at this point.
It reminds me of the Valentina versus Nunes fight, though, because this is the first person that Nunes is fighting that's going to, besides Valentina, that's going to come out and strike with her in a technical aspect. Cyborg didn't do it. Raquel Pennington didn't have a chance to do it because she just wasn't good enough. Ronda Rousey wasn't good enough to do it. But the one fighter that really stood there and actually fought her smart was Valentina, and that was a very good fight, and a lot of people thought Valentina won that fight. And Holly's obviously going to do that. She's not going to fight stupid. She never has. And Holly's actually very good on the ground, too. She can take people down, and that's where, if Nunes ever had any holes in her game, it was when people were wrestling her. I know Miesha Tate took her down. Nothing really much with that, but earlier in her career, Kat Zingano took her down and dominated her on the mat. I know Nunes is a black belt, but in that fight, she was just going for really low-quality knee bars, nothing that was ever going to work. So I think Holly could really push the pace on the feet, maybe hurt her a couple times early, get her tired, and then maybe start using some grappling to take the advantage there. I am going to take Holly in this fight. I think she's going to outpoint her, and I think she's going to win.
Yeah, obviously Nunes just needs to keep it close, stay inside, throw her hands, and not get kicked in the head.
Yeah. So last fight on this card, I would be very surprised if anybody in the world picks Thiago Santos to win. But we have Santos versus John Jones. I think Jones will finish him, probably submit him. I think he's just going to take him down. Santos just has a puncher's chance, and John Jones doesn't get hit by the people with the puncher's chance. So
yeah, I mean, that's what they say every time somebody is fighting John Jones. It's that they have a chance, they have knockout power, and then he just destroys everybody. And I mean, they're pretty much just cycling through everybody so he can, I guess, clear out the division. I mean, I think there's some other people that can pose a bigger threat to him, but I don't think that Thiago Santos is one of those guys.
So out of that entire division, who do you think could give John Jones the best fight?
Well, obviously, I'm going to say Corey Anderson. Again, we're biased, but he does have the well-rounded fighting style. He's got the wrestling. He's long.
Yeah. No, I don't disagree. I think Corey is obviously a fighter that has probably the best gas tank in the division.
That too.
And if you're going to beat John Jones, you're not going to outstrike him. Corey's just going to push the pace and try to take him down. Maybe he can hold him against the cage. And if it does go to the ground, Corey's not going to get submitted. John's going to have a really hard time taking Corey down. So it's going to end up being a boxing match, which Corey has great boxing. He's long. He has good reach. If they fought each other, I'm not saying I would take Corey, obviously, but I think if anybody in the division has a chance, if anyone in the division has a chance, it's Corey Anderson. With just the cardio, the pace, the wrestling, the boxing. And the only thing that's ever held Corey Anderson back in his career was his chin. And John Jones doesn't have that crazy knockout power. He had that one head kick that Daniel Cormier leaned right into.
Mm-hmm.
But John Jones isn't going to be throwing those type of body kicks at Corey Anderson because he's going to get taken down.
Yeah.
He's probably going to box him.
Yeah, Corey's gotten a lot smarter, gotten a lot better. The gas tank's a big thing, and a lot of problems that I think we see people fighting Jones, like I thought in the Anthony Smith fight, was that he was, I don't know, it's like he was like scared and didn't fight him. He was just trying to get to the end of the fight, and I don't think Corey would do that. So that's definitely who I'm going to pick. But like we said, we admit we are biased. But what are you going to do?
The only people that have fought Jones well were people that clearly weren't scared of him and would engage in a little bit of wrestling. Gustafsson, in the first fight, was wrestling John Jones. He took him down a couple times. Daniel Cormier, he was pushing the pace and trying to wrestle with him too. Outside of that, nobody really has ever tried to wrestle John Jones. Like Anthony Smith fought scared. Thiago Santos isn't going to try to wrestle him. Lyoto Machida didn't try to wrestle him. Rashad Evans actually is a wrestler and didn't really try to wrestle him. You got to try to go out and wrestle this dude. The puncher's chance isn't going to work. He's too smart and he's too good. He's too long. He's going to keep the distance, and once you do finally get inside, he'll take you down. So, I think Corey Anderson is the perfect matchup for him. But I don't think we're going to see it because the UFC clearly doesn't want Corey to get that chance. They're not promoting him. Anytime you get the top guys in the division, the up-and-comers get mentioned, Corey's not in the conversation for some reason. So
I think he just needs one more big win, and then what can you say? But we'll see. We'll see who gets to fight next. So, you want to look at these fights from this last weekend, a couple of them? Or do you think we went through all this pretty fast? Anything you want to go back and touch on?
No, I actually had a nice little segue going into the fights from this weekend because the main event was a heavyweight fight. No, you didn't ruin it. The main event was a heavyweight fight between Ngannou and Dos Santos, and I think the most entertaining fight in the UFC right now would be John Jones versus Ngannou.
Jesus.
That is a fight where I don't know who the hell I would pick. I don't know how that fight would go. That's a fight that we could definitely see soon. There's talk about John Jones going up, and I think Ngannou's going to be the champ of that division soon.
I think that would be a crazy first fight for Jones moving up to heavyweight, and who knows if he'll ever actually move up. But the one thing that you got to say watching Ngannou these last two fights is, you just have to make one mistake against him and it's over. The Cain Velasquez, obviously that was Cain coming back, and he went in for a shot and got hit with an uppercut, right?
Yeah, from an inch away. Don't know how.
So that sucked to see because I love Cain, but I like Ngannou too. Obviously, he's been practicing on some wrestling defense one way or another. So he goes in for the shot, gets uppercutted. Then Dos Santos threw an overhand right, and that was it. Throws one overhand right, misses, and then he gets tagged with a few shots. And after the first one, he was rocked. So, obviously, I mean, I don't think John Jones will get that fight right away unless they both want it, because Ngannou deserves the next title shot after the winner of Stipe ADC, unless it goes into a trilogy.
Yeah, but Dana he refused to guarantee Ngannou the next title fight because I really think Dana just wants to see DC versus John Jones 3 at heavyweight. He's talked about it a few times, but John said he doesn't want that. He said in an interview, I don't remember who it was with, that he thinks it would be dumb to go up and give DC any type of advantage. He gave a lot of props to DC, saying he's one of the best ever, and at heavyweight he's a better fighter and has much more power, and was basically saying that there's no reason for him to go to heavyweight and give DC any type of chance.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't have to, but... And DC also said he wants to do that fight at 205 if they do it.
Well, I hate that. I want DC to fight him at heavyweight.
I want it too. He's just trying to be... I mean, that's just the competitor.
The punches he was landing in that second fight would knock John Jones out at heavyweight. The first punch he threw knocked his mouthpiece out in their rematch. Like, if he lands that at heavyweight, he's knocking him out for sure.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely looked good at that second fight in the beginning up until the end. I mean, he was looking good, and then... Yeah, obviously the guy head kicked, so... I think it'd be cool to see a heavyweight.
I hate talking about that fight.
I'm sorry.
Makes me depressed. Another fight that was on that last week's card was Joseph Benavidez, and he looked amazing defeating Hoshiro Formiga. I would really like to see Benavidez versus Cejudo, too. I thought Cejudo won the first match, but they gave it to Benavidez.
Yeah.
And I want to see Cejudo fight at 125. I have no interest in watching Cejudo fight Aljamain Sterling.
I think so just to start off there, those are two really tough guys. Obviously, Benavidez took some big shots in the first round. I mean, he outpointed him, but he took some big shots and looked like he was maybe getting hurt. A lot of great grappling and scrambling. Benavidez was all over the place. Anytime it looked like Formiga was going to get somewhere, Benavidez scrambled and got in the better position. Then second round, he really starts getting his connections in and throws that head kick, which he actually fell down from. Looked like he fell down from almost every head kick he threw, actually. But Benavidez threw a head kick and fell down himself. But he hit the head kick up against the cage, right on the jaw, rocked Formiga. He stands back up and finishes him off. But it would be cool to see Cejudo come back down and defend there. Obviously, Benavidez does have that win over him, which I did disagree with too, but I mean, Benavidez is the clear number one contender at 125, and I think it would be cool to finally see a double champ go down and defend that belt first and alternate.
I agree. If they fought again, I do think Cejudo would actually dominate him now.
Yeah, I didn't see anything in the fight that looked like Benavidez could beat Cejudo, even though he did look good.
No, he just doesn't. I don't think he has enough power, but I really hope they never get rid of this weight, because that fight was awesome. The things that they do are just things that nobody else can do at other weights. He's throwing punches from the pocket, fakes a shot, and throws a right high kick. Like, the big guys cannot do that. The only other fighter I've seen do that is TJ Dillashaw. Like, that stuff's just so cool to me. Like, the stuff Mighty Mouse used to do, I'm sure he's a fighter that could do it. Like, suplexing someone and armbarring him in the air. Like, that was by far the most entertaining fight on the card. And, I mean, most people don't even care about it. That's why Cejudo needs to go down, though. He needs to get people... He saved the division. Now he needs to get people to care about it. And he's a fighter that people do care about. A lot of people don't like him, but that's a fighter that people want to see. And if he fought Joseph Benavidez on a co-main event, like, that would get a lot of views.
Yeah. I don't blame him for not wanting to cut the weight, and obviously fighting at 135, he will get more views. He'll probably make more money. He should be making good money anyway. But either way, he's actually going to be out for probably the rest of the year, right?
Yeah, surgery. He had shoulder surgery, so he'll be out for a while. And you can't really have an interim belt at either of those weight classes, though, because, I mean, who would get that? I don't know, 135, you could do Peter Yan versus Aljamain Sterling, I guess.
Yeah, that would make sense, especially if he does end up defending at 125 first.
Yeah.
I mean, Benavidez and Formiga was basically, I mean, it's not an interim belt, but I mean, who else would fight for the interim belt? That was the clear number one contender fight. But I would love to see Cejudo actually fight at both. And honestly, he was talking about if Frankie Edgar beat Max Holloway at 145, and I would actually love to see that too.
Oh, yeah. I I could see Cejudo winning that fight.
I could too. I mean, I love Frankie Edgar. Frankie Edgar is actually my favorite fighter, and I would love to watch that fight.
Yeah, fuck. I don't know who I would pick. Those are two of my favorites. Obviously, Cejudo has the wrestling advantage. Frankie definitely has a size advantage, but I don't think it's.
It's not that crazy of a size advantage. I mean, Cejudo is really strong. I mean, how tall is Frankie Edgar compared to Cejudo?
I don't know.
I'm gonna look at it.
But I mean, if they fought, this isn't their size. I was thinking this when I was watching Benavidez. Cejudo looks so much bigger than those guys.
Yeah, he's jacked.
That's what I was thinking when I was watching that. Cause I mean, Joseph Benavidez is a little dude, and so is Cejudo, but he looked way bigger. So what? They were 2-inch difference.
Yeah, Frankie Edgar's 5'6" and Cejudo's 5'4", and I mean,
with wrestlers, that almost benefits Cejudo.
Yeah, I think the style matchup.
Oh no!
I think that'd be a good fight. I'd like it. I'd like to see it, and I would be crazy to see a 125-pounder.
That could headline. I mean, that would headline the card, obviously.
But that's if Frankie Edgar can beat Max Holloway, and that's a big if.
Yeah, I don't think Frankie has much of a shot against Max, but you never know. Frankie surprised a lot of people a lot of times, but it doesn't seem like he can get back to that belt. He's had a ton of shots and just hasn't been able to do it. But speaking of, we were talking about interim belts a second ago.
Mm-hmm.
One that I see might be coming up is at welterweight, because with Colby not fighting Usman, that just means Usman's sitting out and will be out for a while, and we don't know why. But if Usman's out for a while, I think they're really setting up Ben Askren to get the next title fight,
right?
Because they pulled Colby from that. But what would be a bigger fight in that division than Ben Askren versus Colby Covington if they both win their fights?
Yeah, I mean, that would be awesome. I can't think of a bigger fight, really. Well, I mean, I think Askren and Usman would be a bigger fight.
I don't. I
Really?
think the trash talk between... I mean, we've seen the trash talk between Ben and Usman, and it wasn't that entertaining.
It doesn't matter. I mean,
It doesn't
it's
matter.
a title fight.
It matters when you're selling pay-per-views.
But Ben Askren is enough to sell them.
But Ben Askren versus Colby...
He doesn't need Colby. Nobody cares about what Colby says.
If it's against Askren, they will, because everyone cares what Askren says.
Yeah, but it'll be the same against Usman. It'll be funny. It'll be fine. I mean, Askren doesn't really need a dance partner for the trash talk. He can carry that himself. I think it would be a bigger fight for him to get the title fight. We'll see what happens after Masvidal and see why Covington's not fighting Usman. That is really strange that he's fighting Robbie Lawler.
Yeah, which I wrote an article about that fight. I hate that fight. Robbie Lawler, everyone loves Robbie Lawler, but he just hasn't been that significant in the UFC in a while.
He looked great against Askren, though. I'm excited to see him fight Colby Covington.
He had one good moment. He had one slam because Ben Askren did a silly wrestling mistake that he would never do. Instead of going under the arms, he went across for a side headlock. But other than that, Robbie Lawler hasn't been winning fights. What was his last win?
Was it against Cerrone?
Yeah, his last one was against Cerrone, which was controversial, though. Most people thought Cerrone won.
No, I thought Robbie won.
And besides that, I think his last win was Carlos Condit. And his Cerrone win was like over 2 years ago.
So yeah, he lost to Askren, Dos Anjos, beat Cerrone, lost to Woodley. Yeah, so his last one other than
and a lot of people thought he lost the Condit fight too. So like
that was a great fight too.
It's not like he's been dominant. And Colby Covington is on like a 6-fight win streak. Was the interim champ.
I think Covington will beat him. I'm not saying that he won't.
And now but that's just dumb that he has to fight the number 10 guy in the world.
It is really strange.
I hate that fight.
I'm sure eventually we'll learn more about it, but
I don't know. That is a bad fight for Robbie. I've seen a lot of people say Robbie's wrestling defense is good, and I don't see it. He's been taken down by every wrestler he's fought.
But
it did not start good against Askren.
It started good.
Ben took a shitty shot, sucker dragged him, got behind him, and then did something stupid. And then after that, he took him down easy.
Yeah.
Like Colby has better stand-up than Ben, too. So he's just going to push him better and probably get the takedown earlier. Like, I don't want to see Robbie
the way he
ended
up taking Lawler down, he just walked towards him like Frankenstein. That just makes me think he's going to kill Masvidal, honestly.
I don't want to see I don't want to see Colby beat Robbie Lawler.
I don't either.
That is going to make me so sad.
But
if he loses, he'll probably retire. Like, Colby Covington's probably going to retire Robbie Lawler.
Yeah, that's fucked up.
I hate that fight. They should have given Colby, like, Ponzinibbio. Or just have him sit out and fight the winner of Askren Law. Because Askren, the thing with this fight, Askren and Masvidal is, the winner of this could fight in 2 months against Colby. Because these guys aren't going to get hurt. Like, if Askren wins, she's going to lay on them the whole time. And if Masvidal wins, he's not going to get hurt. Like, they're both going to be able to fight soon. They're just forcing Colby into a fight because it's an ESPN card and they want people to watch it.
Do that many people really want... Well, they want to watch Robbie, but do that many people really want to watch Colby?
On free? Yeah, free on ESPN. Robbie Lawler versus Colby Covington.
I mean, I want to watch it.
What MMA fan's not going to watch that?
I'm just saying I don't think it's like a crazy draw.
I think people are going to tune in to hope they see Colby get knocked the fuck out.
Well, of course. But we'll see. Well, anything else you want to touch on? I mean, so we talked about Cejudo. We talked about the heavyweight division and what's possibly next for that. I mean, do you think they would do a trilogy if Stipe wins? Or do you think they would... Because you got to think, if Stipe wins, what are his options? It's either rematch DC or rematch Ngannou.
I don't think DC would do it if he loses. I think he would just retire.
No, I think he would want a rematch. I don't think he'd retire.
I don't know.
Who knows what he's going to do? He keeps talking about retirement and going back and forth.
I feel like he's ready to be done and other people are pushing him. He's like talking like his coaches don't want him to retire, Dana White doesn't want him to retire, but I think he's ready to be done. Like, if he lost at Stipe, what's the point of fighting him again?
If he wins, it'd be a good time to retire, but I mean, if he loses, I just can't see him actually retiring. He might even say he's going to retire and then 2 weeks later that's what MMA retirement is, really.
I think the only other fight he would want is John Jones. Like, if he loses to Stipe, I think he's good with calling it quits.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. But, I think DC's going to win that fight, though, anyway.
I do, too. I don't see much of a way Stipe could beat him, honestly. I don't think he could knock out DC. He's definitely not going to out-wrestle him. He's not going to outpace him. I think DC gets it done again, probably.
Yeah, well, I wish the odds were going to be the same as the first one because I made a lot of money on that fight.
Oh, pull up the odds for this upcoming card.
That's what I was about. That was, I had a good transition there too.
I just gave you it.
I was in the middle of the transition.
Handed you it.
You fucking blew it.
All right, Gilbert Melendez Arnold. No, Masvidal plus 195.
See if there's anything good to bet on here. If you're feeling like you love Diego Sanchez.
Oh, Holly Holm plus 280.
Holly Holmes plus 280.
I like that.
Yeah, that's not a bad bet. I could definitely see her winning the fight.
I mean, if you throw a little parlay on Holly and where's Askren's?
Where is that?
Holly and Askren?
Well,
or Holly on Masvidal, I mean?
Yeah, Masvidal's a plus 195.
Yeah, damn, that's... I kind of thought that would be, like, even.
Askren and Masvidal? Well, everybody's on the Askren train right now.
Why is Gilbert Melendez fighting?
I don't know.
I thought he was retired and in the booth for sure, but Claudia's on this card too.
Jack Marshman a plus 400. He's fighting Edmund. Okay.
Alejandro Perez is underdog.
But Diego Sanchez plus 250 if you love Diego.
That's insane to me that Diego Sanchez is less of an underdog than Holly Holm.
Yeah, that is kind of crazy.
Why are people sleeping on Holly?
Because, I don't know, Nunes has been looking great, and Holly has lost some fights recently.
It's a conditioning thing, dude. Holly's not going to get knocked out. And her conditioning's way better than Amanda Nunes.
It's a good fight. It's a great card. I'm excited for it.
The more I think about it, the more I think Holly's going to win.
Yeah, the more I think about it, the more I'm not sure.
It's just like, it's a perfect
But
fight.
that's with a lot of fights also.
The only thing that's holding me back on it is she lost to Jermaine Durandame. But that was bullshit. That fight was bullshit.
Oh, that's when she kept getting hit with the late shots.
Yeah, she kept getting rocked by late shots.
And those were the biggest shots of the fight.
Yeah, and she should have won that fight anyway.
And then,
but Holly's fight with Cyborg was good. That's what I think she needs to fight her like that.
I didn't think it was that great. I didn't think she looked like she had any kind of shot during the entire fight.
She won a couple rounds.
I don't know.
She at least won one. I think they scored it.
Let's look it up.
3 rounds to 2, or at least a couple of them definitely did. But I don't know.
Pulling it up right now. Can I?
You might not even be able to see the scorecard on it.
There's got to be a way to see it. Here we go.
Could have beat Cyborg with 5th round win. So it must have been 3-2. It must have been 2-2 going in the last round.
Let's see.
That's crazy. That if that's true though, people don't talk about that enough.
49-46, 48-47, 48-47.
So if she would have won the last round, she would have beat her.
Yeah, but I don't agree with that.
But I mean, it's true though.
I mean, I know what you're saying, but
What happened?
That's
Has she not fought? She beat Megan Anderson.
Mm-hmm.
She looked good in that one. That's the fight she used her grappling in.
Yeah. I don't know. Sometimes when I watch Holly fight, it seems like she's like holding back. Like maybe it's some kind of a game plan they're using that. I don't know. I just wish that she would let go more. But I don't know shit. So
that's crazy.
That's just what I want to see.
They got the same camp in the main event. Greg
I
Jackson's got Holly
about
and
that.
Jones, so they got a lot to prepare
And didn't
for.
Diego just leave them?
Yeah, Diego's not there anymore.
After just getting mad at Cerrone for talking shit about them?
There's really not anybody in that camp anymore besides Jones and Holly that I can think of. I think most people left, which is crazy because at one time that was by far the best camp in MMA.
Yeah. But with them two, it's still up there. But let's see, anything else we need to talk about that's coming up?
No, I mean just it's hard to look past this card. I just
Yeah.
keep looking at it and getting excited about it.
Yeah, it is really exciting. I can't wait. It'll be a good time watching those. So that next week we'll do a recap on that, and then when's the next fight after this?
July 13th. So
when
we'll
the
be able to
next
talk
week?
about that card, but that card's not very good. Jermaine Duraname versus Aspen Ladd, Uriah Faber versus Ricky Simone, Josh Emmett versus Mirsad Bektik, Benel Dariush versus Drakkar Close. Yeah, this card sucks.
I hate to see Uriah coming back. I love Uriah, but
He's gonna lose.
you think so?
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
Ricky Simone's good. All right, well that about does it. That was the first episode of Sibling Rivalry MMA podcast. Be sure to check us out on YouTube, and hopefully we'll be on some other streaming services soon. Check out Third String Sports, third-stringsports.com. Find us on Twitter at Third Sports, and we will keep you updated on when we will be back.